Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-shalakyam Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya-manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Shvam Rupakadamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Yuda Padkamalam Shri Vaishnavam Sha Shri Upam Jagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parijana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagalita Shivishakam Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namasate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhani Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriye Vankha Kalpta Visha Kripa Sindhi Visha Patiran Papa Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Recording in progress.
So today we are continuing with the 19th chapter of the 8th Canto. Lord Brahmadev begs charity from Bali Maharaj and is going to he begged for three paces of land. So we will continue with text 33 till the end of the chapter 41, till verse 43, I think, is the last verse, chapter 19. I will first read the first verse, Sanskrit, to start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Tribhikamer Imalokan Vishvakaya Kamishati Sarvasvam Vishnave Dattva Muda Vartisyaset Katam. Translation. You have promised to give him 3 steps of land in charity. But when you give it, he will occupy the 3 walls. You are a rascal. You do not know what great mistake you have made. After giving everything to Lord Vishnu, you will have no means of livelihood. How then shall you live? And then there's the purport. Can someone read the purport, please?
Bali Maharaj might argue that he had promised only 3 steps of land. Immediately understood that this was a plan of Hari, who had falsely appeared there as a brahmachari. The words Muda Vartisha Se Katam reveal that Shukracharya was a brahmana of the priestly class. Such priestly brahmanas are mostly interested in receiving remuneration from their disciples. Therefore, when Shukracharya saw that Bali Maharaj had risked all of his possessions, he understood that this would cause havoc not only to the king, but also to the family of Shukracharya, who was dependent on Maharaj Bali's mercy. This is the difference between a Vaishnava and a Smarta Brahmana. A Smarta Brahmana is always interested in material profit, whereas Vaishnava got it. From the statement of Shukracharya, it appears that he was in all respects a Smarta Brahmana, interested only in personal gain.
So yes, we may be thinking, if I surrender to Krishna, how will I be maintained? Shukracharya says here that you won't be truthful if you deny his request. When he takes everything in 2 steps, where will you allow him to put his 3rd step? So Shukracharya does not know that Vamandev will give Bali Maharaj the intelligence to put the 3rd step. And in the Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada speaks about Smarta Brahmins. He speaks about that extensively in a purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And as the purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 3, text 85. That Advaita Acharya is speaking to Nityananda. They are joking, it's in a joking mode. Advaita Acharya said to Nityananda, you are a reject Paramahamsa, and you have accepted the renounced order of life just to fill your belly. I can understand that your business is to give trouble to the Brahmins. So in the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada explains the difference between Smarta Brahmins and Vaishnava Goswamis. Between Smarta Brahmins and Vaishnava Goswamis. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, of that verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there Srila Prabhupada writes, by calling Nityananda Prabhu a Brasta Avaduta, a rejected Paramahamsa, in a sense accepted Nityananda as a Paramahamsa. In other words, Nityananda had nothing to do with the rules governing the Smarta Brahmins. Thus, under the pretense of condemning him, Advaita Acharya was actually praising him. So what is a Smarta Brahmin? Do we know how do we know that someone is a Smarta Brahmin? Someone has the answer? Let's have a discussion. What is a Smarta Brahmin? What are the characteristics of a Smarta Brahmin?
I think Prabhupada mentioned in the purport here that those Brahmanas are interested in receiving remuneration.
Those are interested in?
From disciples.
Yeah, receiving remunerations from disciples. Yeah. So they want material gain. That's one characteristic.
Material gain. That's how Prabhupada identified him to be a Smarta. Shukracharya Smarta Brahmana.
Yeah. Is that the only characteristics? They want money. Yeah, Stuti Priya Radha.
They are not Vaishnavas. They are not Vaishnavas.
Not Vaishnavas, yeah. Stuti Priya Radha, please.
Yes, Maharaj. I was thinking Brahmanas are basically to show the direction to the society, and the Samarth Brahmanas, even though they have some knowledge of the Vedic scriptures, but they are not very clear with the ultimate purpose, that is to satisfy the Lord and to do everything for the pleasure of the Lord. So I feel that's the one of the correct.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Any other characteristics?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes?
So, what I understand is that the Smarta Brahmins they treat like five deities as equal. So they treat, I think so, Lord Shiva, Durga, Devi, Lord Ganesh, Vishnu, and Surya. I think so. They treat these five deities and they treat them all five as equal. So
Okay.
that I think so is one of the technical differences.
Yeah, approaching the demigods like that. Thank you. Prema Manjari.
And also, another characteristic of Smarta Brahmanas is that they're engaged in the rituals and sacrifices prescribed in the Vedas.
Yeah,
But
Karma
not, of
Kandiya,
course, for the ultimate gain, not for bhakti.
yeah,
Yes.
these are Karma
For
Kanda
materialistic
practices.
purposes.
Right. Thank you. Shira de Govinda, please.
Yes, karma
Hare
mimamsa.
Krishna Maharaj.
Karma Mimamsa.
They also don't believe in the potency of the holy name the way the Vaishnavas do.
Yeah.
They think that that's just, how do you say, they don't see it as the goal. They say it's just, we use it for liberation, but they don't believe in the potency of the holy name.
Yeah.
Oh, and they believe in rituals rather than the holy name.
Yeah.
Karma
Right.
Kanda.
Karma Kanda. Okay. So I went to Prabhupada's purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it came up with 6 characteristics that Srila Prabhupada put forward. First is, a Smarta Brahman believes in qualification by birth. If you are taken birth as a Brahman, you are a Brahman. Point. They think that if you are not born in a Brahman family, then you don't have any qualification. That's their first belief. Second, they are interested in material gain. We see that here also with Sukracharya. 3, they are more interested in the rituals and the details. Niyama Agra, too much interested in following the rules. The cowherd boys, on behalf of Krishna and Balaram, went to beg food from these Brahmins, and they ignored the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their wives were transcendentalists, and they could appreciate Krishna and Balaram. Yes, a Smarta Brahman is attached to rules, so engrossed in the details that the foremost principle escaped them, the goal escapes them. The fourth point that Prabhupada makes, they are not devotional. They are using the shilas to crack the nuts. Hare Krishna. 5. Fifth characteristic, they are Karmakandiya practitioners. They are concerned with sacrifices to elevation to the heavenly planets. These are the Smarta Brahmins. They oppress other people. They give others trouble. They are proud because they are born in a certain family. And the 6th characteristic, mostly they are also impersonalists. Finally, they don't believe in the Lord as the Supreme, although they worship Lord Vishnu, not in a devotional way, but in an official way. In the purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 385, Prabhupada writes, in the Paramahamsa stage, which is the supermost stage, one may appear to be Visayi, on the platform of sense gratification, but in actually has nothing to do with sense gratification. At that stage, a person sometimes accepts the simples and dress of a sannyasi and sometimes does not. Sometimes he dresses like a householder. Yeah. So, which Smarta Brahman in Chaitanya Lila became transformed into a Vaishnava. Who knows the name? Who was that in Chaitanya Lila? A Smarta Brahman who became a Vaishnava. It's very...
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya?
Yes, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was a Smarta Brahman. Yeah. So in Madhya Lila, chapter 12, text 180. After serving the Bhattacharya with first-class prasadam, Gopinath Acharya said, just consider what the Bhattacharya's previous mundane behavior was. Just consider how at present he is enjoying transcendental bliss. In the purport of that verse, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was previously a Smarta Brahman, that is, one who strictly follows the Vedic principles on the mundane platform. On the mundane platform, one cannot believe that prasadam is transcendental, that Govinda is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the Vaishnava is a liberated person. These transcendental considerations are out of the ordinary Vedic scholars' jurisdiction. Most Vedic scholars are called Vedantists. The so-called followers of Vedanta philosophy consider the absolute truth to be impersonal. They also believe the person born in a particular caste cannot change his caste until he dies and takes rebirth. The Smarta Brahmins reject the fact that Mahaprasadam, food offered to the deities, is transcendental and materially uncontaminated. Originally, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was subjected to all rules and regulations of Vedic principles on the mundane platform. Now Gopinath Acharya pointed out how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had been converted by the causeless mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being converted, Sarvabhauma partook prasadam with the Vaishnavas. Indeed, he sat by the side of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Bhurijan Prabhu commented, there are some Smarta Brahmins living in Vrindavan, and they refuse to come taking prasadam at our temple, because they don't consider us Brahmins. So they cannot eat it. They refuse invitation. They also don't believe in a form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was also previously an impersonalist. Before, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya would even not eat with the Vaishnavas, and now is eating with Lord Chaitanya. This is the mercy of the Lord. We will hear about Kripa Siddhis later today. When Srila Prabhupada was at the opening of Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan, then the installation would be done by Vrindavan Brahmins from Vrindavan, otherwise they would not accept it. Because we were known at that time as the English temple, that foreigners and the Smarta Brahmins would not accept us, our worship as bona fide. So therefore, Prabhupada decided to invite Brahmins to do the installation, Vrindavan Brahmins, and devotees would do kirtan at the same time. Later he said, yes, the kirtan was a real installation. But invited many Brahmins to request them to do that, but invited Brahmins and he would speak with them. And then he would say to his disciple, to his servant, yes, they can take prasadam. We invite them for prasadam. But then some of the Brahmins said, no, we have to go, we cannot take prasadam. Because they would not take prasadam from foreigners. But some agreed to take prasadam, and those who agreed to take prasadam, Prabhupada engaged them in the installation, because that means they accepted, at least in a certain way, his disciples. It's just a story that came to mind. Now we go back to the next verse. Moment, I will have to share it. Zoom, share, and here we are. Text 34. Can someone read the translation of 34, please?
Vamana will first occupy the three worlds with one step, then he will take his second step and occupy everything in outer space. And then he will expand his universal body to occupy everything. Where will you offer him the third step?
So, can you also read the purport?
Shukracharya wanted to tell Bali Maharaj how he would be cheated by Lord Vamana. You have promised 3 steps, he said, but with only 2 steps, all your possessions will be finished. How then will you give him a place for his third step? Shukracharya did not know how the Lord protects his devotees. The devotee must risk everything in his possession for the service of the Lord. But he is always protected and never defeated. By materialistic calculation, Shukracharya thought that Bali Maharaj would under no circumstances be able to keep his promise to the brahmachari Lord Vamanadev.
So we can see that Sukracharya, he had a greater vision than Bali Maharaj. He knew what was going to happen, how Vamanadev would occupy the universe. But his vision was limited because he did not have devotion. He did not have the highest vision of a Mahatma, and he can do anything for the service of the Lord. Although Bali Maharaj was in the position of a disciple, he had a higher vision. His guru was a Karmakanda guru, he was not a Vaishnava guru. Therefore, we will see that there will be a conflict between the guru and the disciple here. So can someone read text 35 and 36, please?
Hare Krishna.
Please.
You will certainly be unable to fulfill your promise, and I think that because of this inability, your eternal residence will be in hell. Learned scholars do not praise that charity which endangers one's own livelihood. Charity, sacrifice, austerity, and fruitive activities are possible for one who is competent to earn his livelihood properly. They are not possible for one who cannot maintain himself.
Yeah. So he says if you give everything in charity, then Sukracharya says, how will you maintain yourself? Of course, he thinks always also, how will I be maintained? But then Sukracharya in the next verse will give some advice how to spend one's money and be happy. Interesting. Text 37. Can someone read, please?
Therefore, one who is in full knowledge should divide his accumulated wealth in 5 parts for religious education and for the maintenance of his family members. Such a person is happy in this world and in the next.
Yes, that is the advice of Sukracharya. But Srila Prabhupada will give another advice in the purport. Can someone read the purport, please?
The sorcerers enjoined that if one has money, one should divide all that he has accumulated into five divisions: one part for religion, one part for reputation, one part for opulence, one part for sense gratification, and one part to maintain the members of his family. At the present, however, because people are bereft of all knowledge, they spend all their money for the satisfaction of their family. Srila Rupa Goswami taught us by his own example by using 50% of the accumulated wealth for Krishna, 25% of his own self, and 25% for the members of his family. One's main purpose should be to advance in Krishna consciousness. This will include dharma, artha, and kama. However, because one's family members expect some profit, one should also satisfy them by giving them a portion of one's accumulated wealth. This is the Sastric intention.
Yes. So this is repeated quite often in Srila Prabhupada's purport. 50% for Krishna, 25% for yourself, and 25% for the members of the family. If you don't give them, they will complain. That's very clear in the 11th canto, the story of the Avanti Brahman. So you have to live in this world and you have to satisfy everyone. If you actually follow this instruction, then that is pure devotional service for Grihasthas to follow. This is a detail on how to fulfill the principle of dividing wealth. Srila Prabhupada gives detail how to do that in this purport. In verse 38, some more advice by Shukracharya is going to act like a very clever lawyer. He will find a loophole in what Bali Maharaj said already. 38. Can someone read text 38 and 39, please?
Already from demons. Just take from me the evidence of the Bhavrik Richa Shruti, which says that a promise in truthful preceded by the word Om and untruthful if not.
Yeah, you can read also the next verse.
The Vedani is the good fruits and flowers derived from it. But if the bodily tree does not exist, there is no possibility of actual fruits and flowers. Even if the body is based on untruth, there cannot be factual fruits and flowers without the help of the bodily tree.
Thank you. I put up my video because my internet is very weak and is at the point to disconnect. I will a little later try to put it on again, but for the moment I leave my video on to be with you. So in text 38, the previous verse, I bring it on the screen again, 38. Yeah. So it says that if a promise, which says that a promise is truthful, preceded by the word Om, and untruthful if not. So he said, you made that promise, but you didn't say Om, so it's not truthful. You don't have to follow it. So here he gives it's a technical reason. So it's a Smarta Brahman, all these details, the sacrifice. So he said, you are not going to break your promise because you didn't say Om. It is not a promise after all. If you say Om, then that is the truth. So here is a scripture. There is a scripture called Vavrika Shruti seems to be a grammatical term, is actually misusing the Vedas. One of the Shastric aims is academic integrity. Don't twist the scriptures for your personal gain. And then in 939 he says, the Vedas enjoy that the factual result of the tree of the body is the good fruits and flowers derived from it. But if the body tree does not exist, there is no possibility of factual fruits and flowers. Even if the body is based in untruth, there cannot be factual flowers, fruits and flowers without help of the bodily tree. So now it becomes here philosophically. It says, so you need your body. Without money, how will you maintain it? So this is the most important thing, maintain your body. So in the purport that Prabhupada explains two paths. So he says here, this sloka explains that in relation to the material body, even the factual truth cannot exist without a touch of untruth. The Mayavadi says, Brahma Satyam Jagamitya, the spirit soul is truth and the external energy is untruth. The Vaishnava philosophers, however, do not agree with the Mayavadi philosophy. Even for the sake of argument, the material world is accepted as untruth. The living entity entangled in the illusory energy cannot come out of it without the help of the body. Without help of the body, one cannot follow a system of religion, nor can one speculate on philosophical perfection. Therefore, the flower and fruit have to be obtained as a result of the body. Without the body, the fruit cannot be gained. The Vaishnava philosophy therefore recommends Yukta Varagya. It's not that all should be diverted for the maintenance of the body, but at the same time, one's bodily maintenance should not be neglected. As long as the body exists, one can thoroughly study Vedic instructions and thus at the end of life achieve perfection. Thus in Bhagavad Gita 8.6, at the end of life one can achieve perfection. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita, Yam Yam Vapi Smaram Bhavanti Kalevram. Everything is examined at the time of death. Therefore, although the body is temporary or not eternal, one can take from it the best advice and make one's life perfect. So there are two paths, Upasana Kanda and Jnana Kanda. If you don't have a body, then how can you follow them? So it is not that we let the body die. We need the body. Prahlad Maharaj, although Prahlad Maharaj said, we have this gift of human life, we should understand to use it. Bhujam Prabhu commented in the previous Bhaktivedanta class, you have to maintain your body just like you have to maintain a car. Especially when you get older, then you need to take care of the body, otherwise it just deteriorates. Why do we take so much trouble? It is to serve Krishna. But don't make the body your center. And here, that Shukracharya makes the body the center here. That's the issue. Can someone read text 40, please?
When the tree is uprooted, it immediately falls down and begins to dry up. Similarly, if one doesn't take care of the body, which is supposed to be untruth, in other words, if the untruth is uprooted, the body undoubtedly becomes dry.
Yes. So is really twisting the philosophy here. That to get Bali Maharaj to say no. He's trying to convince him in various ways. So we agree we must take care of the body. But how? Krishna says, Nat yasnatas toyogaste nashikantam anasnatam nachati svapasilasya jagatonaiva shayana. You cannot perform yoga, Krishna says, if you eat too much, eat too little. So what shall we do? Krishna says, 6:17, Yuktahara vrahasya yuktasastasya karmashu yuktasvapnavabodhasya yogabhavati dukhaha. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. If we do that, then we will be a yogi. So this is the practice of yoga. That Srila Prabhupada said, for a devotee, it is very difficult. For a devotee, there is no work. It's all recreation. But still, if we are on a marathon 24 hours a day, it's very difficult. We will be regulated if we live in the mode of goodness. Now that we have text 40. Can someone read text 40, please? Oh no, we read text 40, but I mean the purport. Someone can read the purport of text 40.
In this regard, Goswami says, Panchaki Tiya Buddhya Harisamandhi Vastuna Mumukshuli Parityago Vairagyam Falgukatayate. One who rejects things without knowledge of their relationship to Krishna is incomplete in his renunciation. And do not consider the body misunderstood by Srila Rupa. Aren't you have to scroll? Okay. But Srila Rupa Goswami instructs, Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vashtunaha. The body fully engaged in Krishna's service should not be neglected as material. One who does neglect it is in fault in his renunciation. If the body is not properly maintained, it falls down and dries up like an uprooted tree, from which flowers and fruits can no longer be obtained. The Vedas therefore enjoin.
Yeah, please read only the translation. The purport.
The purport is that activities performed with the help of the body for the satisfaction of the absolute truth, Om Tat Sat, are never temporary. Although performed by the temporary body, indeed such activities are everlasting. Therefore, the body should be properly cared for. Because the body is temporary, not permanent, one cannot expose the body to being devoured by a tiger or killed by an enemy. All precautions should be taken to protect the body.
So sometimes devotees do great things on the plea that we are not the body. But of course, Sukracharya says, if you serve Krishna, then you will lose everything. So he says, don't do it. The body is a tree to bear fruits for Krishna's service. So that is a lesson we should learn. It's not our body, but Krishna's body given to us for service. That is the highest realization. It is not my body, it is Krishna's body. Lord Chaitanya said to Sanatana Goswami when he arrived in Jagannath Puri, he was thinking of, because Lord Chaitanya embraced him when he had a skin disease, he was thinking, I contaminated the body of Lord Chaitanya. At the next Ratha Yatra, I will jump under the wheels of the cart, of the rat cart, and commit suicide. But Lord Chaitanya, who is in everyone's heart, knew what Sanatana Goswami was thinking. And he chastised Sanatana Goswami and said, do you think your body belongs to you? No, it belongs to me. And I've great plans with this body to do preaching in Vrindavan. So he chastised him. It's not our body. It's a body given to us to serve Krishna. Now we are in 41, we are going back in the technical realm. What is going to happen if he says Om? Translation. Someone can read, please.
The utterance of the word Om signifies separation from one's monetary assets. In other words, by uttering this word, one becomes free from attachment to money, because his money is taken away from him. To be without money is not very satisfactory, but in that position one cannot fulfill one's desires. In other words, by using the word Om, one becomes poverty-stricken. Especially when one gives charity to the poor man or beggar, one remains unfulfilled in self-realization and in sense gratification.
So in other words, by using the word Om, one becomes poverty-stricken, he says. He's painting a very dismal picture of what is going to happen when you have no money. You will lose your sense gratification, poverty-stricken. He's painting the worst scenario. So whatever you do, don't say Om. If you do, you will lose everything. So of course, that's not in Kali Yuga. This is in the Vedic times. So his guru said, okay, just don't say Om. So we will go now to near the end of the paragraph here. At the end, even though, let's see when we find that. It's where Prabhupada speaks about, even though there are so many charitable institutions. I think it's a little further. Yeah, here. So it's from here. Even though there are so many charitable institutions, poverty has not been driven from human society. Therefore it is recommended here, Bhikshavi Sharvanum Karvanalam Kamena Shatmane. One should not give everything to the beggars amongst the poor. So the best solution is that is that of the Krishna conscious movement. That this movement is always kind to the poor only because it feeds them, but also because it gives them enlightenment by teaching them how to become Krishna conscious. So I was reading a Bhakti Godhead by Vishnu Jan Maharaj, and he had an outline how to help the poor. The devotees should bring prasadam to them, teaching them how to chant and how to make an altar in their home and offer everything to Krishna. Then they will be happy, even if they are poor. He had this huge program how to do this. He had this huge program that we continue Prabhupada's purport. Can someone read the purport here further, starting with, we are therefore opening hundreds and thousands of centers, till the end.
They are opening hundreds of in money and in knowledge to enlighten them in Krishna consciousness and reform their character by teaching them how to avoid illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, which are the most sinful activities and which cause people to suffer life after life. The best ways to use money is to open such a center come live without denial of any of the bodily necessities, but they live under spiritual control, and thus they live happily and save time and money. It should be used to push forward the Krishna conscious movement forward, so that all the human society will become happy, prosperous, and hopeful of being promoted back home, back to Godhead. The Vedic mantra in the regard recommends as follows.
Yeah, you don't have to read that. Good. So the point is that our temporary needs should be dealt with in such a way that we make spiritual advancement. Constitutional and conditional needs to be balanced. The body is a lost cause, but we can spiritualize it, use it in Krishna's service. So Burijan Prabhu tells a small story. He says, when Srila Prabhupada was asked what he expected when he came to the West, he thought that he would be sent straight back to India. So many gurus were there before him, and they were saying so much nonsense. You can enjoy and still be spiritual. When Srila Prabhupada met some bogus Hatha Yoga guru in Hong Kong, and the guru was eating breakfast with his disciple, and his disciple was a meat eater. At the meal, the disciple did not eat any meat, and the guru asked, "Why are you not eating your meat?" And the disciple said, "Well, I don't want to do it in front of you. You are vegetarian." Then the guru said, "Does the tiger eat the same thing as the other animals?" So he sanctioned him to eat meat. So this is going on with bogus gurus. They will compromise with principles, the four regulative principles. Allen Ginsberg told Prabhupada that one guru told him, LSD is a hard drug, in case you don't know. So LSD is like Jesus, and it will give you liberation. Srila Prabhupada replied, LSD is material, how can you get liberation? So Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, when he first heard the four regulative principles from Srila Prabhupada, he thought at least one person has the courage to speak the truth. You have to follow these four regulative principles. So this is Srila Prabhupada. So Sukracharya is not as Srila Prabhupada. He's a Smarta Brahman. So he's preaching a Smarta Brahman karma kandiya way. Now he's giving all his arguments. And we will hear his arguments in text 42. Can someone read the translation of 42?
Therefore, the safe course is to say no. Although it is a falsehood, it protects it from full facility to collect money from others for oneself. Nonetheless, if one always pleads that he has nothing, he is condemned, for he is a dead body while living, or while still breathing, he should be killed.
Yes, so it gives both sides of the argument. So we discussed 5 kinds of irreligion at the end of Canto 7. You remember these types of irreligion or Vidharma, which were discussed there. We had Shaladharma. Shaladharma was one of them. Chaladharma means using word jugglery to cheat people. So here we see an example of Chaladharma and jugglery by Shukracharya. So if we go to the purport and we have the last sentence. So if one continuously poses himself as possessing nothing and collects money by begging, he should be killed. So Srila Prabhupada agrees with some of the statements. Now the ultimate argument is in the last verse. It is okay to lie, and he gives examples when you can lie. Can someone read text 43? Please, translation.
In flattering a woman to bring her under control, in joking, in a marriage ceremony, in earning one's livelihood, when one's life is in danger, in protecting cows in Brahminical culture, or in protecting a person from an enemy's hand, falsity is never condemned.
So you have all these reasons to lie. In which category here is Bali Maharaj? Vritti Artha, for earning one's livelihood. And the second is the enemy is coming to cheat you. So which category of Shastra would come this under? Mostly it's Artha Shastra. Artha Shastra is about how to get livelihood. Or Dharma Shastra, protecting cows, Brahminical culture. So there seems to be a mixture of Artha and Dharma Shastra, but mostly Artha Shastra. Artha Shastra means for your own gain. This was also taught by Sanda and Amarka to Prahlad Maharaj, but Prahlad Maharaj rejected it because it was based on friends and enemies. I cannot understand that someone can be your enemy. So we see in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives so many arguments that many of these arguments were based on Artha Shastra. That's Artha Shastra says if one steals your wealth, he's an aggressor and can be killed. So in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Lila, 19th chapter, verses 46 to 61, there is a pastime of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and a sannyasi who is of the category of this type of guru, the Smarta Brahman guru. But I will read this for you after the break. So now it's 6:30, we'll have a break till 6:40. I try to look here if we can improve the internet at my side. You see, we have a break for 10 minutes. See you in 10 minutes. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, we continue. So, like I announced before the break, I will read from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Lila, 19th chapter, verses 46 till 61. It's a pastime of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, and a sannyasi who is a Smarta sannyasi. So I wrote it all by hand because I don't have Chaitanya Bhagavat. At least not the version used by Bhurijan Prabhu. So Nityananda said to Lord Chaitanya, Vishvambar offered obeisances to a sannyasi. Seeing Vishvambar's beautiful form and smiling face, the sannyasi, in great satisfactory, offered him various benedictions. And the sannyasi said to Lord Chaitanya, "May you achieve wealth, family, good wife, and learning." That's what he said to a sannyasi. But what will Lord Chaitanya say to this? Lord Chaitanya said, "O Gosai, this is not a benediction, rather you should say, may you attain the mercy of Krishna." So a benediction for devotional service to the Lord is inexhaustible and indestructible. Whatever you have said, O Gosai, does not befit you. The sannyasi smiled and said, "I've now directly experienced what I've heard before. If good advice is given, then people will chase you with a stick. The behavior of this son of a Brahmin was just like that. He felt fault in me. Why do you criticize my benediction?" the Smarta sannyasi said. "If one has taken birth in this world and does not enjoy sense gratification, beautiful women, and does not accumulate wealth, then what is the use of his life? Tell me, even if you have devotion to Vishnu, what will you eat?" So it's using the same arguments as Sukracharya. Lord Chaitanya replied, "We will certainly eat what is destined to our karma. If family and wealth is the aim of life, then tell me, why are they taken away at the time of death? O Gosai, try to understand what is good and what is bad. There is no other benediction other than devotional service to Krishna." So this was another type of this guru from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Lord Chaitanya meeting a Smarta Brahman. Now, we have come at the end of chapter 19. Do you have any comments or questions, please? Hare Krishna. There are no questions. Yes, please.
Vamandev, he put the first step on the earth, second step on the heavenly planets, right? And he persisted that portion of the planet, and then the Karanjal water comes in the earth planet. Is it right?
That we will all hear in the next chapter. We will hear about that.
That is same as Ganges.
Yes, but that's further explained. That
yeah, but after that, here in this passage it is mentioned that he read and they gave the they mentioned about the Lord Shankar who holds the Ganges water. So this happened. How they mentioned about that Ganges before this pastime? That's what is my question.
No, that happens after this pastime. Lord Vamandev put with his toes, he makes a hole in the universe through the eight coverings. And there the water comes in from the Viraja river. And he wash his feet. Well, also, Lord Brahma does Abhishek on the feet. From Satya Loka, we will hear that. And then the water comes further down to the Akash Ganga and is transported with boats, and then finally it comes down on the top of the highest mountains on this earth, which is the Himalayas, on the head of Shiva. Anyway, that's a whole pastime in itself, the Ganga. But
Okay.
we will hear about this more now. Yes, Mother Kanta.
Hare Krishna. Um, Maybe this is a question from the aged chapter, but still, do you know any significance that Lord Vamanadeva appeared as a dwarf? And I wonder why. Why isn't he just a little boy, for example, or just of ordinary size man? Why is he a dwarf? What is the significance of this word?
Well, of course, that may have different answers on your question. That, but it's a lila, and the Lord of Vaikuntha, who appeared before Aditi and agreed to become our son, and he said yes. Now Bali Maharaj has the blessings of the Brahmins. Nothing I can do, but I find a way to fulfill your to fulfill your wishes without breaking that principle. Therefore, his plan was to beg at the sacrifice of Bali. It was the best form to do that. A brahmachari, according to the Vedic system, is a beggar, and no one can receive, no one will deny charity to a Brahman. So it takes that form to beg from Bali Maharaj. That was part of his plan, Krishna's plan, to cheat Bali Maharaj. So it's a pastime. According to the pastime, the Lord takes a form. He has to dig up the earth from the nether regions of the universe. Was the best form to go into the nether regions. That is a form of a boar, and he takes the form of a boar. So according to his pastimes, he takes forms as he pleases. And that's a very nice form, Vamandev. Very attractive. Any other points?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
Yeah. As we were discussing about smart Brahmins and the Vaishnavas and difference and everything. So, as I'm preaching, so we come across the people, those who do not want to follow the rules and regulations very strictly. And it's very easy to deviate. And these days we have these so many so-called Babajis in Vrindavan. And they're so famous on internet, and it's the age of me, these messages from the people I'm trying to preach. And not only these Babajis are doing that, and we see the other Vaishnav Sampradaya people, they are promoting them because on media people keep on asking them, what do you say about Premanand Maharaj? And then people, very big people, they don't, they hesitate to speak against them, and it's very difficult to bring the souls.
Yeah, I didn't hear the last thing. Can you repeat it again? Because the last thing you said.
Yeah, I was saying that, because they are giving freedom that as grihasthas, anybody can, just keep up their own standards. But we in ISKCON, we follow, four regulative principles and the core, and we have, Prabhupada saying that we have to follow everything nicely. So when we preach to people, it's very difficult to bring them to this level that, we have to be strict when we are following. So, how to go about it, like, how to bring these souls to the fact, because everybody just wants to be spiritual, but they don't want to follow rules and regulations 100%.
Yeah, when Prabhupada went to America, he had this prayer on the Yala yeah, Markine Bhagavad Dharma. And he's saying, yeah, what am I going to do in America? The people, if I tell them to follow their principles, they say, Swamiji, go back. That's not for us. Because also before his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, sent Bon Maharaj to London. And you know the story when he approached the Lord Zetland. Yeah, and Lord Zetland asked Bon Maharaj, can you make a Brahmin? And he said, and he said, yes, you just have to follow these 4 principles and we make you a Brahmin. And Lord Zetland said, but that's my life, how I can give it up? So Prabhupada was thinking, I arrive in America and they send me back. But somehow or another, after a year, he started to preach in 26 Second Avenue, and he gave his first initiation. And after giving the initiations, the new disciples came to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, what is our duty? And then he told them, after initiation, he told them about the 4 relative principles after initiation. So what's the principle here? Try to engage people in devotional service. And once they are engaged in devotional service, then gladly we will tell them. But don't tell them up front. That may not go well, especially not in the West. That may not go well. That's what I can say. We cannot compromise the truth, but we can try to first engage them in devotional service. That's also in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, don't disturb those who are attached to material life, but try to engage them, rather try to engage them in devotional service. So don't start with disturbing them. Engage them in devotional service, some way or another. That and when they get interested and become a little serious, then we will tell them. Otherwise, people in Kali Yuga, they want to be cheated. What can we do? And we cannot prevent that. So much cheating is going on. But we follow Prabhupada. Prabhupada say, don't mix with these Babajis and all this. Don't even refer to them. Someone came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, someone said, what do you think of this Swami? And Prabhupada's reply was, I don't think of him. That was it. He didn't discuss anything about these so-called Swamis. That he would not mention names or something. Yeah. Right, that's what I can say. That it's a very difficult thing you bring up. Not easy. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Okay, we have half an hour to go into the next chapter. Bali Maharaj surrenders the universe. That's a moment. I will share again. Pop up soon. Share. And here we are. Share the universe. Yeah, that's a summary. Text 1. Can someone read the translation, please?
See, Sukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, when Bali Maharaja was thus advised by the spiritual master Shukracharya, his family priest, he remained silent for a time, and then, after full deliberation, he replied to his spiritual master as follows.
So Bali Maharaj is ready to give everything to Lord Vaman, but his guru is intervening and he gives so many arguments why he should not give to Lord Vaman. So, do you remember some of the arguments that Sukacharya used? Which arguments did he give not to give everything to Lord Vaman?
One argument was that if he gives everything, then he will not be able to maintain himself.
Yeah, he will not be able to maintain himself, and Sukacharya think I'm depending on him for his maintenance, so that's important. Yeah. Other arguments?
How will you live after you lose your possessions or your wealth?
Yeah, how will we live? Yes. There were a few more that.
He said it is the duty of a householder to maintain the principles of religion, economic development, and sense gratification.
Yeah. That's a scriptural argument. Thank you. He said also. Yes.
You talked about the third step. You said Lord will take away everything in the first two steps. What will you do with the third step?
Yeah, with the third step.
What will you give?
Yeah. That.
And then you will be put into hell.
Into hell. Yeah. That's true. He will go to the hellish planets, to a heavenly planet in the hellish planets. Yes. He said also, you didn't chant Om. So if you don't chant Om, it's not truth. It's not really a promise. That. And for your maintenance, he said, it's okay to lie. So these were some of his arguments. But the ultimate principle of the Shastra is to please Krishna. Here now, Bali Maharaj is deliberating how he's going to reply to his guru and to Vamandev, who is standing before him. So we will first hear what Prabhupada says in the purport. Can someone read the purport, please?
Srila Krishna Chakravarti Thakur remarks that Bali Maharaj remains silent at a critical point. How could he disobey the instruction of Shukracharya, the personality as Bali Maharaj, to abide by the orders of his spiritual master immediately, as his spiritual master had advised? But Bali Maharaj also considered that Shukracharya was no longer to be accepted as spiritual master, for he had deviated from the duty of a spiritual master. According to Shastra, the duty of the Guru is to take the disciple back home, back to Godhead. If he is unable to do so and instead hinders the disciple in going back to Godhead, he should not be a Guru. Guru Nasasyat, Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.18. One should not become a guru if he cannot enable his disciple to advance in Krishna consciousness. The goal of life is to become a devotee of Lord Krishna, so that one may be free from Punarjanma 90, Mam Eti Sojuna, Bhagavad Gita 4.9. The spiritual master helps the disciple attain this stage by developing Krishna consciousness. Now Shukracharya has advised Bali Maharaj to deny the promise to Vamana Deva. Under the circumstances, therefore, Bali Maharaj thought that there would be no fault if he disobeyed the order of his spiritual master. He deliberated on this point. Should he accept the advice of his spiritual master? And should he independently do everything to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He took some time. Therefore it is said, Tushrim Bhutva Shanam Rajan Uvacha Bahito Gurun. After deliberating, no, I don't see that line.
Yeah, okay. After
deliberating on this point, he decided that Lord Vishnu should be pleased in all circumstances, even at the risk of ignoring the Guru's advice to the contrary. Anyone who is supposed to be a Guru, but who goes against the principle of Vishnu Bhakti, cannot be accepted as Guru. If one has falsely accepted such a Guru, one should reject him. Such a Guru is described as follows in Mahabharata Shanti 57. 7. Karyam ajanataha utpata paripanasya parityago vidiyate. Srila Jiva Goswami has advised that such a useless guru, a family priest acting as guru, should be given up, and that the proper bona fide guru should be accepted. Shatkarma nipuno vipro mantra tantra visharadaha avaishnavo guru nasyat vaishnava swapacho guruhu. A scholarly Brahmana expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava. But if a person born in a family of a lower caste is a Vaishnava, he can become a spiritual master.
Thank you. So in the beginning of this purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes Rishabhadev's teachings 5518. Guru nasasyat vajana nasasyat pitana sasyat janani nasasyat devam natasyan napatis nasasyan namoksheya samupeta mrityum. One cannot deliver his dependence from the path of repeated birth and death. One should never become a spiritual master or father, a husband or mother or a worshipful demigod. So all those mentioned in this verse have a responsibility towards their dependents, to deliver them from the repetition of birth and death. Here we have a Karmakanda Guru and our pure devotee, Bali Maharaj. One is a Brahman and the other a demon Kshatriya. But actually the higher one is Bali Maharaj. Often we have that in Srimad Bhagavatam that a pure devotee is a demon instead of a devotee. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.22 purport Srila Prabhupada writes, one should not become a pseudo-spiritual master as a matter of business to meet one's family expenditures. It is the duty of the spiritual master to deliver the disciple from impending death. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, what is an example of someone who is in a position of Guru or Brahman who did not act properly? In Srimad Bhagavatam of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that others who rejected their Guru or did not act properly. That others who rejected their Guru or their father or their husband and so on. That
Prahlad rejected his father.
Yeah, Prahlad rejected his father. Yeah.
Indra rejected his guru,
Yeah,
or disrespected.
he disrespected him, yeah. And didn't act properly. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
In Ramayana, Bharat rejected the mother.
Bharat rejected Kaikeyi. Yeah. Yes.
Bibhishan rejected the Ravana.
Yeah. Bibhishan rejected Ravan, his brother. That, yes, I think we have already. Can say the gopis rejected their husband as authority. In Ramachandra Puri, he criticized Lord Chaitanya. He was.
And then also the wives of the Smarta Brahmanas in Krishna Lila.
Yes, also.
They also rejected their husband's advice and ran towards Krishna.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Nice examples. So Bala Maharaj is about to reject his guru, and he will give all reasons. He will also speak the truth, but not in a heavy way. Not in a heavy way. He will also speak on Shastra and try to convince him what he wants to do is the right thing to do. He will speak in such a way as not to disturb his demoniac friends. Because his demoniac friends, they want to enjoy, and Sukracharya is arranging for their enjoyment, so that's a difficult position. So I have another example from Srimad Bhagavatam of someone who failed to do the duties of a Brahmin and therefore was liable to be rejected from the position of a Brahmin. This example is from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and concerns Ashvatam. Ashvatam failed to perform the duties of a Brahmin, a teacher, and therefore he was liable to be rejected from the exalted position of a Brahmin. On this consideration, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna were right in condemning Ashvatam. Now in Bhagavad Gita there is a purport. Bhagavad Gita 2.5 purport. There it is said, according to the spiritual codes, a teacher who engages in an abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. So these are other reasons. This applies in India because there are many gurus who don't have much knowledge, but they are just doing the rituals. Such gurus should be rejected. In Srimad Bhagavatam 5.14.13, Srila Prabhupada speaks about bogus gurus. Sometimes, to mitigate the stresses in the forest in the material world, the conditioned soul receives cheap blessings from atheists. He then loses all intelligence in their association. This is exactly like jumping in a shallow river. As a result, one simply breaks his head. He is not able to mitigate his sufferings from the heat, and in both ways he suffers. The misguided conditioned soul also approaches so-called sadhus, who preach against the principles of the Vedas. He does not receive benefit from them, either in the present nor in the future. What is going on? Now Bali Maharaj is going to speak to Sukracharya, and he will point to the proper meaning of the words of Sukracharya. So he will use his arguments. Interesting. Any further questions? Because we went into the chapter 20, the first verse.
One question.
Yes.
So this is it is a very important point also, like for us. So one question here is like in practical life, How really does one determine? Because sometimes it may happen that a bona fide guru makes a mistake. Even by he makes a mistake. So how does then the disciple determine whether he should still follow the guru or or he should just reject this particular advice, or he should reject the guru in total, or what is the proper course, how he should act properly?
First, he should try to clarify, ask questions for clarification, and the reasons why. And then it can be clarified on. If it's not clarified satisfactory, you go to a god brother of the guru and explain and ask the same question that then we have to see. You will receive the same answer, then it's confirmed. If there is a conflicting point, then it should be sorted out. Maybe you can ask the god brother of the guru to speak with the guru. That's an etiquette. But yes, that making an error, it depends. There are different kinds of error. Prabhupada quotes sometimes a wrong verse. But that is, one must see from the meaning what has to be explained. Accidentally quoting another verse, that's not really an error in that sense. If the principle, there are principles and details. If the conflict is about the principles, that's serious. About the details, that's not so serious. And one guru may say, like Prabhupada, he said to one sannyasi, you are a sannyasi, and a sannyasi should not stay for more 3 days in one place, because a rolling stone gather no moss, no attachment. So you should always move from temple to temple. And to another sannyasi said, you should stay here in Vrindavan and not move from Vrindavan. As a sannyasi, you should stay here. So these are details. We may not understand the meaning why Prabhupada is doing that, but these are details. Are not so important to understand for us. Details for specific instructions for individuals. But principles is different. Principles should be clear, according to Shastra. And if there is a conflict, it should be clarified with other Shiksha gurus. And it's not a reason to reject the guru at all. Because the guru may have the right intention and the right attitude. But these things are rare, that there would be a conflict on principles. But if that happens, that should be sorted out by discussing it with other Shiksha gurus. In the case it's very relevant to one's spiritual life. Not about theoretical things, not about historical details. that doesn't it, but it's about spiritual techniques. That's important. That so yeah. Maybe someone else has comments on that, but that is what I would say. That
Thank you very much. It's very helpful.
good. So then I introduced chapter 20 because we are still little ahead of schedule. So tomorrow we will continue with getting into chapter 20 and hear the arguments of Baldi Maharaj, the reply to his guru. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Recording stopped.
Jai Prabhupada.